call the November 5th Conservation meeting to order.
Can we close that door? Can someone close that door? Thank you. Got it.
In the fire station at 257 Charles Bangkok High. Okay, because I didn't bring the name plaques, I'll do a roll call. Joan McKibben, present. Tom Levesque?
Present.
Roger's absent. Marion, Michael Croto, absent so far. Jackson Garrett, absent. Harry Manzikian?
Here.
Matthew Lepore?
Here.
John Curtin? Absent. Andy Thompson?
Here.
And Diane?
I have present.
Very good. All right. So first on the agenda of November 5th is there any public input on non-agenda items? Hearing none, we'll go to the first item. Renee Thoreau and attorney Morgan Hollis and Jim Petropoulos. Jim, do you have a card?
I do.
Something secretary can be reading. Tax map 22, lot 11, gas station proposal. But tonight we are only here to talk about the change from underground gas tanks to, excuse me, right, you're right, from above ground gas tanks to underground storage gas tanks. And that's what we'll be talking about. Later on, when the applicant applies to the planning board, we as an abutter can get into lighting, traffic, and everything else. But tonight is just really to talk about the gas station. Even the wetlands we'll talk about at the planning board section. So with that, I will introduce Jim Petropoulos, Containment Solutions.
Thank you, Joan. For the record, my name is Jim Petropoulos. I'm a civil engineer. The company is Hayner Swanson in Nashua, New Hampshire. With me tonight is Renee Thoreau, Thoreau Development, LLC, and his lovely daughter, I forget her first name. Audrey is with us. And Frank Montero with GPI is also with us this evening. As Joan just read here, we're here to discuss a particular element of a project that I think a number of the commissioners have seen before. If you could raise your hand if you're familiar with the case. Okay, good. Okay, good. I'll dispense with a lot of the detail and kind of get right into why we're here. Again, as Joan just said, the plan that was permitted through various boards in the town last year contained 3 above-ground fuel storage tanks. We are seeking to revisit that issue. Our attorney, project attorney Morgan Hollis, who couldn't be here this evening, is preparing a zoning board variance to have an underground storage tanks in the Aquifer Protection District. But before we file that, we wanted to come and discuss the matter with the Conservation Commission. We're going to achieve 2 quick things here this evening. I'm going to be very quick. I'm going to give you an update of the development, talk a little bit about what we've been doing over the past year. There's been some subtle changes to the plan. I just want to give you the oversight. And then I'm going to turn it over to Frank. Frank really is recognized as a really leading industry expert. He's a professional engineer, and he has done numerous and a very impressive quantity of gas station retail spaces. I might use the word mini mart. I don't know if it's the right word, but it's, you know, we've seen them. There's been a couple new ones at Hudson, the Cumberland Farms, the Irving Oil. Irving is a project that Frank did on Lowell Road. So he is going to drill down a little bit on the details of the tanks, and hopefully we can answer your questions here this evening. I just want to start by revisiting the plan that was here last year. It was a conceptual plan that was prepared by Farwell Associates. Again, the property is really 15 acres, 15.3 acres in size. It's in the north part of Litchfield, in the northern commercial zone. Number of overlay districts, wetland conservation, aquifer protection, as well as the multifamily zone. In 2019, this plan received a number of special exceptions and variances through the Zoning Board of Adjustment. I won't go into those in detail, but one of them obviously was to construct a gas station on the property. There was also relief associated with the storage tanks. After those approvals, our company, we're land surveyors and civil engineers, we got involved to try to develop this concept, this vision that Renee had. We performed a complete survey, a detailed survey of the property. We had wetland mapping done in accordance with local and state requirements. And then Renee asked us to take this vision, this concept, and put it on the actual survey. And let's see how Mr. Farwell's concept looked. And does the site accommodate the development? The quick answer is yes. The plan, if you recall, had a gas station retail space up in the front part of the property with a driveway to self-storage in the back part of the property. And if you look at our plans, they look fairly similar in character. Put a little color on this one, but it's essentially the same development program. Let me identify the subtle changes that I mentioned in this plan versus the other plan. This particular building is about 1,000 square feet smaller than what was originally permitted. It was 9,600 square feet. This is about 8,800 square feet. Plus, there might be a little freezer barn area outside. So it's about 800 to 1,000 square feet less in size. The previous plan had 3 curb cuts on the Charles Bancroft Highway. From an access management standpoint, we thought that was one too many. We are proposing 2 curb cuts, one to the north near your property, which is what was on the original plan. And then we eliminated kind of a mid-connection to the Charles Bancroft and have a second connection here to the south part of the property that will also be used for the self-storage in the back. The original plan had a car wash behind the facility. The car wash has been eliminated from this proposed plan. In its place will be some lane work for the traditional order menu and pick up for a coffee facility that we hope occupies the inside of this building. So the thinking would be you could enter into the site at either location, but the drive-through would work in a counterclockwise manner. Order board, menu board in the back, pickup window in the back, and then you would leave the site near the curb cut. Behind the site, another change, the previous plan showed diesel fueling, a second canopy in the front of the property, a small little canopy for diesel vehicles. With Frank's input, we think it's best served behind the building. It's a little bit more aesthetic, a little bit less busy in the front, but also it allows vehicles other than automobiles to access and go behind the building, a little bit bigger turning radiuses. There's 2 dispensers in the back for diesel fuel, and then they can leave the site, again, with that southerly curb cut. A little bit more parking. We were at about 43 spaces versus 26 spaces. We're showing a vacuum air compressor in this part of the site. There's a small little picnic area. One of the components of the building could be, these facilities, these gas retail mini marts. They serve prepared foods for people during the day. There's a nice space over there, picnic area, providing a sidewalk link to your property in case somebody someday is walking your site and they want to use the restroom or grab a soft drink or something. They have that connection rather than going out into the street back into the site. The self-storage piece of this really hasn't changed. A little bit positioning of the buildings, but that's it. So before I turn it over to Frank, I just want to reiterate something Joan had said. We will be back. We'll be back before you to talk about all those fun things, stormwater, landscaping. We will have some buffer impacts. We know we've got a stormwater area in the back that had some buffer impacts in the previous plan. We will get into more detail on that. If we need a sidewalk, we can do a sidewalk. talk about erosion control, we'll talk about some of the spill prevention measures for the gas facility as well. So with that, I thank you. I don't know if you have any questions on the changes to the plan. If you don't, I'm going to have Frank come up and talk a little bit about the tanks and maybe a little bit more detail of the front part of the site.
Any basic questions? No? Good.
Thanks. Yeah, put that on the chair. How's that?
Well, Madam Chair, members of the board, Chair mentioned Frank Montero will keep the a few renderings. We just colored up, kind of blew up the gas station portion of the site, so we could just focus on that tonight. This is the same plan that Jim just showed you, just a little bigger scale. And pick this up, you already pick this up.
Yeah.
So orientation-wise, on Jim's plan, that Bancroft Highway on the bottom of the sheet here. So basically, my drawing is a blow-up of this front area here. We're not going to really focus on the storage in the back tonight. So one of the considerations when we got this original site plan from Renee was really the layout of the site was not conducive to today's gas station retail outlets. With respect to many things. But the main thing is that the retail gasoline in the front and the commercial diesel, you always want to try to separate those two uses because you have trucks obviously that utilize the diesel and for safety reasons you want to separate them. So that was the main objective of my layout, and that's kind of what we accomplished with this. So by doing that, we solved the issue of trucks potentially crisscrossing with vehicles in the front. Allows the trucks to stay away from the front area, and it's much safer for circulation. The drive-through component is also separated from the truck component so that the vehicles can stay away from the truck circulation. And there's plenty of room to circulate, and we've actually added one truck parking space on this side of the site so the truckers could stop and run into the store. So we have a pedestrian link from that parking spot to the store. So kind of overview, that's how the site layout changed. Now the details relative to the gas site, one of the shortcomings of the prior plan, the biggest one was the fuel storage capacity that was planned in this back area. Again, it was proposed as an above-ground storage tank, but the bigger concern we have today is just the sizes of the tanks. The original application had 3 10,000-gallon tanks, separate tanks, so 10,000 for regular, 10,000 for super, 10,000 for diesel. Today's retail facilities don't have that combination of fuel in terms of sizes. Very few people buy premium unleaded gas nowadays. It's really regular is what people want. So we need more storage than 10,000 gallons for regular fuel. We don't need 10,000 gallons of fuel for super. And we don't need 10,000 gallons of a combination of 3 tanks. So to try to be more efficient with tank sizes and quantities, today there's multi-compartment tanks. You can have more than one product, more than one type of gasoline in one big tank. And you can have much larger tanks if you vary from the vaults that were originally proposed. So I'm going to just kind of touch on what was originally approved and just kind of what's different and why. So the main thing is with the regular gasoline. So we want to have 20,000 gallons of regular gasoline storage on the site, which is very typical for a site this large. And it's actually not that large. There's 4 dispensers in the front. I should back up. There's 4 multi-product dispensers, we call them, in the front canopy. Those can fuel 8 vehicles at one time, 2 vehicles per dispenser. So we can fuel 8 vehicles at one time in the front. With the diesel in the back, one of the other shortcomings with the other plan, there was just one island. Well, every tractor trailer has 2 tanks on the truck. So you have a passenger side and a driver's side. So in today's modern facilities, you have two dispensers. You have what we call a master dispenser on the driver's side of the truck and a satellite dispenser on the passenger side of the truck. So he can just take a nozzle from each side of the truck, fill up the truck, and not have to move the truck, not have to throw the hose across the truck or under the truck like the old days. So it's a much safer design if you can do these we call it satellite dispensers. So technically, in this design, we have two fueling locations for trucks. There's actually 3 dispensers in this configuration. So the first truck fueling is here. Is what we call a master dispenser on the driver's side of that with a nozzle. And then there's a dispenser on the passenger side. And that dispenser is actually double-sided. Okay, so we don't have to have 2 dispensers like the old days. We have one dispenser that's double-sided. One side of that is just a nozzle for the passenger side of this truck. The other side is a master dispenser, we call it, with a nozzle for the driver on the next station. And those 2 nozzles run independent. Basically, the one master dispenser controls the 2 nozzles for that one fueling location. So there's one meter and there's one charge for that person. So it's kind of a little confusing because we have 2 fueling locations in the back and there's 3 dispensers for that reason. In front, we got 8 fueling locations and there's 4 dispensers. So I just wanted to clarify that. So we've added dispensers from the original plan. There was 4 dispensers here for the retail. There was kind of like one big diesel island in the front, and there wasn't really any flow for the trucks. It would have been a conflict, so this is a better configuration from safety point of view. So I just want to talk about the tanks now, the above ground versus the underground, because what we'd like to do is underground tanks at this location. And there's several reasons why, and I'll just touch on them all, but I'm going to go back to the tank sizes again before I forget. So there's 2 different tank fields, we can call them, tank farms, these different terms, but the idea is to, instead of having one remote tank location, which you had before over here, and you run real long product lines to feed the dispensers, there's more piping, there's more potentials for problems. That's not the best design, that's efficient. You want to have the shortest pipe run between the underground tanks and the dispensers, underground tanks and the dispensers. So we want to have 2 UST systems in this case. One that just provides fuel for the front, and one that provides diesel fuel for the back. So the 2 tanks in the front, this one here is a 20,000 gallon regular unleaded. The second one is a 2 compartment tank that I mentioned. So that's a 12,000 gallon tank here. Half of it is for super, and half of it's for diesel. That diesel product is just to supply diesel to these front islands. Okay, so we normally would have diesel fuel on the outside islands. Again, these are, we call it retail diesel because it's just like a gas nozzle, we all use them, we all see them. But it's a low flow nozzle. It fills up cars, these fill up cars at 10 gallons a minute. And the truckers don't like that, it takes too long, which is intentional. So you want, they might go to this once, they're not going to go back because they'll be there all day trying to fill. So the nozzles in the back, we call them high-speed nozzles. Those fill at 30 gallons a minute. That's what they want to do. They want to get in and out of there. We want to get them in and out of there. That's another reason why you want to separate those 2 uses. So in the back for storage, we're proposing 20,000 gallons of diesel back there. And again, the tank size is really not a function other than how many times the fuel tanker's got to come and fill up these tanks. The smaller the tanks, the more often fuel tankers need to come and fill them up. So less deliveries, less potential problems for issues. We feel that the 20,000 gallon makes more sense than the 10,000 that was previously proposed. There's another little tank that's in the plan back here. It's called a DEF tank, DEF fuel. I can't believe it, it's so small. I think it's 4,000 gallons. It says 4K. Can you read it? So I don't know if you know what DEF fuel is, but diesel exhaust fluid is what it stands for. Every diesel vehicle today needs to put this additive in the diesel fuel so that it burns clean. It's not a petroleum-based product. It's actually urea.
It's what?
Urea. animal waste. And it's a technology that has gotten real popular in the last 5 or so years. You see a lot of commercial diesel facilities adding DEF fuel to the sites. A lot of times they'll do it above ground in a little box because they don't have the room to put it underground, or it's like an afterthought, so they put them above ground. But it's actually not even regulated by the New Hampshire DES. It's not petroleum based. So
When is it added to the fuel?
when the trucker fills up, there's a separate nozzle just for DEF fuel.
Does he have to add it? or
Yeah,
is
he
it-
adds it. Yeah, it's a whole separate nozzle on this diesel master dispenser only. There'll be a second nozzle that's blue. The diesel is usually green. Second nozzle that's blue, and he has a different compartment that he puts that nozzle in. It's smaller, and it's not like a 1-to-1 mix ratio. They actually sell this DEF product in a lot of convenience stores in little boxes, little totes. Some of the truck drivers will just pick it up off the shelf and pour it in themselves. But if you run out of DEF fuel, your truck will eventually won't run for it. So a lot of the modern facilities providing that product as a convenience for the retailers. And that's what we're proposing here. So there's 4 underground tanks proposed here. Three of the tanks are for petroleum. And as I mentioned, the one is for diesel exhaust fluid. All right, so I'm going to talk about the tanks themselves. So the prior approval had the above ground tanks in this location here, equivalent to this location over here. We could put them there again if it was a strong desire, but there really is no reason to do that from a safety point of view or anything else with the technologies that we have today and the technology that I'm going to propose for this site. This is what was originally proposed for this project. This is a product made by Convault. It's basically a vault, concrete vault. And inside this is a double wall steel tank. And the net effect of this product is you have a triple wall tank in effect. You have a double wall steel tank inside a concrete vault. So it acts like a triple wall tank. Sometimes these go underground, sometimes they go above ground. There's a lot of cons about this product, in my opinion, in terms of maintenance and inspections and things like that. If you go into one of these, which you do need to go inside and maintain these tanks, it's confined space entry. It's a big deal to go in there. I've designed them. I don't think it's the right thing here. I think it was proposed here, maybe because the feeling was it was less of a contamination concern. But I'm going to explain why we can do something that's even better than this. So one of the big reasons I don't like to use this, or the clients don't like to use it, is the aesthetics, obviously. And I tried to find like a real picture of this thing online this morning, just to give you an idea what it looks like. Because this picture actually looks pretty simple, pretty clean lines, not too much to look at, but the reality is there's no piping attached, there's no pumps, there's no ladders, there's nothing. So I wanted to try to find a picture to give you an idea what you'd really be looking at. So this is a similar above ground tank. It's a concrete box, basically. But on top of that box, you have to have a submersible pump sticks up. That's what pushes the fuel under the ground to the dispensers. So when you have that design, you have a pipe above the ground that you're going to look at above this thing. The largest size they make actually is a 12,000 gallon compartment. So if we wanted to have 20,000 gallons of regular, we'd have to have 2 of these. Okay. So for this equivalent volume, we would have two vaults for the 20,000 regular. We could do 1 vault for the split tank, and we'd have 2 more for the diesel. So what is that, 5? 5 of these things would be lined up next to each other. You want a concrete slab like this, and you have to provide vehicle protection. You have to provide, today OSHA, this doesn't mean OSHA's requirement, I'll show you another one, but you got to have a ladder for the service guy to get up to the top of this thing to service the submersible. There's vent lines up here that stick off the top. Actually, this is the submersible over here. There's emergency vents. But you got to be able to walk up here and go on top, and there has to be a railing around it as well, which this doesn't have. So again, you're looking at quite a bit. When you do one of these, you multiply it times 5. There is another product. It's an above ground tank. I just brought that to show you. This is one we did in London there. Again, this is a commercial facility, so it's not the prettiest canopy. This doesn't represent the canopy that we would propose here, but I wanted to show you this above ground tank. That's a double wall steel tank. This one is 10,000 gallons. It's 10 foot diameter and 35 feet long. The Conval tank is a little smaller height. It's like 8 by 8, 9 or something like that wide, and it's about 34 feet long. So it's pretty substantial. So depending on what you see for pictures and stuff, it's a little deceiving, because a lot of the brochures and stuff show you little tanks that are 1,000 gallons, and this is quite large. So I wanted to show you this for scale. But this is another type of above ground tank that could be used. That would be better than the vault, in my opinion. But what I really wanted to show you is this. This is a access ladder that meets OSHA standards today. We just put this in this year on that same site. So you need a ladder for the maintenance folks to go in. You need a platform to walk around. You need a railing so you don't fall off. So those are some of the things that visually you see with above ground tanks. There's a lot of reasons why above ground tanks are problematic. You have security concerns. We show a fence around this one. So you want to keep people away from this. You're worried about vandalism. You're worried about security. You're worried about theft. People actually stealing gasoline from these tanks. You don't really want to screen them, because now people can hide in there. So you kind of want them open so you can see what's going on. But not everybody wants to look at those. So in this case, this was a commercial development, and the public wasn't driving around here, so the owners weren't concerned about visual aesthetics. The vault tanks, as I mentioned, the double wall steel as well inside the concrete vault. Well, steel tanks, are just subject to corrosion. Okay, no matter where they are, if they're in a vault, they're not in a vault, if they're below grade vault, they're steel. Steel corrodes. You have to paint steel. You have to maintain it over time. So there's some other issues that go along with the steel things. What I'm suggesting is that you do conventional underground fiberglass tanks. When I have an exhibit here, and everybody, well, maybe not everybody's seen these, probably not, but because you can't see them under the ground. But I'll kind of explain what these are. So the double wall fiberglass is not corrodable. It doesn't corrode. So this technology has been around forever. It's improved over the years, and this is what basically 99% of new gas stations use today. And there's a lot of advantages to putting them underground. And the biggest one is the safety and the vandalism reasons. But you also don't have to worry about snow removal, elements like sun. You need to maintain the above ground tanks, so you got to shovel them out. You usually got to shovel them up by hand because they're enclosed by fences. You've got liability with people slipping. There's some different kind of ways you fill the tanks. So on the above ground tanks, there's a this one here. The way that the trucks fill these above ground tanks is a fill box right here on the end of this tank. And the fuel tanker pulls up just like an underground tank, and it connects its hose to this box. This lever goes up. That truck has a pump in it. It has to pump the product up to the tank. So, you have potential for, you have to keep this clean for the driver so you get to this bucket to fill it up, and you don't have the concerns with slipping and spillage and so forth. So when you use an underground tank, all that stuff goes away. So the advantage of this, besides the obvious aesthetic ones, is you have corrosion-resistant materials with the fiberglass. There's a double wall fiberglass, and you can build these tanks bigger than you can build the steel tanks. Structurally, these are supported by the ground, and the piston that goes in the ground supports the fiberglass structurally. It's not a freestanding structure like a steel one. So these can be quite large on a truck and be delivered and put in a hole with a crane. It's not a big deal. So the technology with underground tanks is advanced tremendously over the past 10, 15 years. We've actually designed several of these systems in aquifer zones. And actually in New Hampshire, we've done one in Connecticut, Mass. So we've done about 3 or 4 of these in aquifer protection areas, which are similar concerns that we folks do. So this diagram shows kind of a basic underground system, and we're proposing to do more than this in terms of bells and whistles. The underground tank system is double wall, which is a requirement of the EPA in the state, so that's pretty much standard. And then these are called sumps on top of the tank that house the submersible pump I was showing you on top of the other tank. This one's down in the ground, so you don't see that. And then there's a fill port and a vapor port here that sits flush with the ground. So the truck connects to this small manhole on the ground, connects itself and it drops right in the tank by gravity. There's no pump on that type of truck. So any potential leakage or spillage goes into these submersible sump turbine risers, we call them, as opposed to on the ground or above ground. So that's kind of the main difference between the two different types of systems. Everything else is similar, from the submersible pump to that dispenser. You know, the type of product, you can use the same product, so this tank's above ground, below ground, the piping that goes to it's independent of the type of fuel system. So in this instance, what we're proposing to do, because the pond wall product is a triple wall containment system, we propose to do a triple wall fiberglass tank here, which is
Does that still get sticks like the other thing?
Yep, everything gets stick the same way. The way this works is the double wall tanks have this brine solution, which is colored in green here. So it's a brine, so it doesn't freeze. But basically, there's a reservoir on top of the tank here that's filled with brine. So the whole tank circumference is filled with brine. Fills up this reservoir, we call it, and there's a leak detection monitor that sits on that. So there's an electronic float inside this reservoir. So if there's a leak in this primary tank, we call it, the inside shell, if that had a crack or something, the fluid, this brine, would go into the tank and empty this reservoir and set off the sensor. Maybe there's something wrong with the tank. If there were an issue with the outside shell, the same thing would happen. The fluid would leave the space, go up to the ground, and again, it's a brine, it's not a hazardous material. And again, the float would go down and set off an alarm. If there's a high water table, these are not a problem. We have dead men, we anchor these, we always design them, assuming worst case that there's water anyway, so we'll anchor those, but if there's a high water table and the outside shell leaked, the water would actually go in that space and push the brine solution up and set off the alarm the same way. So the triple wall idea, you actually have 2 of these reservoirs. There'd be another one here. And actually, another drawing. This one doesn't even show you the reservoir. But this is an upgraded system for different reasons I'll go over, but this is still a double wall tank with 1 brine reservoir. The triple wall tank would have a second reservoir here. So it does the same thing between the primary interstitial space, we call it, the secondary interstitial space. So that's kind of how it works in a nutshell. But that technology, that triple wall technology, it's more expensive to build in this boat. It's not a cheap way to go, but it's the Cadillac of the industry. And it's the right thing to do here. And like I said, we've done it in some other sensitive areas environmentally. The next component of this system that's important are these submersible sump risers that I mentioned. So the state requires single wall sumps that can be fiberglass, they can be whatever. These are fiberglass that I'm proposing. They don't require double wall sumps, okay? And your project didn't have double wall sumps before, and then single wall. We would propose to make these double wall, just to add an extra safety feature to that sump. Again, that provides triple wall containment because the primary lines, the primary pipelines from the submersible to the islands, that's one layer of pipe. The sump itself is the secondary containment, and then this is a third containment layer because we've got two walls on that sump. Does that make sense? I'm going too fast. Do you care?
Following you.
The following. So anyway, that's something we're proposing. That's not standard in the industry. That's extra, just like the triple wall tanks. And then the last component you want to focus on is the piping, obviously. And that initial application did propose triple wall piping. I would propose a different product. In my opinion, it's just more current technology. But again, we would do triple wall piping.
And it's a lot shorter run than we had.
Exactly, it's a lot shorter run, exactly. And the other thing with when you have those long runs, that these lines need to flow back to the tank gravity, inch per foot. So the longer those runs, the deeper the tank seems to be in the ground. There's no need to do that. It doesn't make sense. So we'd have triple wall piping on that as well, so you get the best available to the market. And then there's all kinds of bells and whistles and leak detection components.
And you have to go to the ZBA with the same presentation?
Yeah, I'm going to have a whole detailed outline with all the components and more detail tonight, but I wanted to kind of have you understand the differences really between above ground and below ground and kind of understand how some of these basic things work so you can make it.
And I think that was a good point that you made, that we didn't, at least I didn't envision, when they showed us that vault, the above ground, it looked real clean and everything, but that's not really what you get.
No.
So that's a good point.
You don't get just one of them.
No. I
Maybe
think this is a much better way to go.
Did I show you this sucker?
Yeah.
Who wants to look at that?
And yeah, I couldn't imagine 5 doors and volumes around.
Yeah.
And, you know, that leaves us a whole big section here to do better landscaping out here that butts us.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No, I mean, I think, it's definitely environmentally friendly, it's the best technology out there. In the state of New Hampshire, we've done this in New Hampshire before. They get all excited when we propose this triple wall stuff and they all want to visit the site and stuff. So you'll be flabbergasted at the design of this. But yeah, we believe this is landscaped areas, offering against your conservation area. And we suggested this link. If you don't like that idea, we're going to remove that, but that might make sense. To have a pedestrian link there, you can put some picnic tables over here or something like that.
So what they'll have to do is go to the ZBA, because to have the underground tanks, they need to go back to the zoning board of adjustment. So we need to write a letter of support, if that's the way we feel, to support the underground tank, the above ground tanks, like underground. Getting confused. Where am I? Underground.
Now, there was 2 tanks installed that I'm familiar with recently. Is the one at BJ's in Manchester.
Yeah,
Are you familiar with that one?
I'm not sure I've seen it as an underground.
Manchester,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I was just kind of surprised because maybe it's what you're describing, but basically all I saw was sand and dirt. I saw the tank literally get dropped on it. Next thing you know, they covered it.
Yeah, it goes real quick. I mean, was it green or was it?
I think it was just a big bomb. And then in Nashville, across the VAE, they put in, I understand it's a vault system underground where the tanks are sitting in cradles.
Could be.
No.
Yeah, the underground vaults they have problems too. I mean, it's the maintenance that's the problem. I mean, it all looks great when you put them in, but you got to maintain them at the end of the day. So anything happens to that vault, you got to put somebody inside there to inspect it. So it's not the easiest thing with OSHA requirements and confined space and so forth. So
What is the failure rate on the 3 wall? Do we have a failure rate?
I don't know of any. I mean, the fallacy with tanks, and I try to educate people, problems with UST systems, very low percentage of the tank itself. It's all the other components. So there's studies that have been done. I think the state of Florida did this huge study on, what was the cause of all these leaks in the state. And I think like 2% was the tank itself. The biggest contributor, if I remember right, is actually the process of filling the tanks up and the equipment that goes with that. So in the old days, like I said, I'm old, but some of the improvements that are made, in the old days when you filled the tank, there wasn't any control of overfilling the tank. There was no valve in here like there is today. So trucks would come in, fill the truck up, they'd stick them like you said, and they kind of get, it's roughly, you could take a couple thousand gallons. Well, I got a little left in the truck, I want to bring it back. So a lot of times it would spill on the surface and it would just go away, right? So the rules have changed over the years. So they have this overfill prevention valve, it's called OPV valve. So there's a little flapper valve in here or a float, depending on which one you use. It doesn't allow you to fill the tank up more than 95% capacity, which is the federal requirement. So the valve actually starts shutting off or restricting flow at 92%, and then it completely shuts off at 95%. But it's like it's a safety feature, not overfilling the tank. With all the computerized systems now, all the inventory on these is controlled electronically by a tank inventory monitor that's in the store. There's a computer printout, tells you exactly how many gallons are in each tank. So when they order new volumes of tank to be delivered, they know exactly what they can fit in that tank, so they don't deliver too much. But this is like a bells and whistles thing. So that technology has improved one of the biggest problems that was causing contamination. The second thing is the actual bucket, we call it, where the hose connects, has a storage capacity of 5 gallons. So when the tank is full, if there's any product left in the hose between the truck and the ground where this connects, about 5 gallons, when he disconnects the hose from here, it runs out of the hose because it runs by gravity. And it goes in the spill bucket, we call it, and then that goes back into the tank. So those technologies have been added over the years because of the studies that were done at Florida, and they understand what the problems are. And those are the biggest issues. And there's a lot of other bells and whistles that have helped prevent leaks and spills, but if you go with fiberglass, it's just common sense. It's not steel. It's not corrodable. Triple wall is just an extra safety factor. I don't know if a triple wall has ever failed. I don't even know of a double tank that's fiberglass tank that's failed, to be honest with you. But they're warranted for 30 years by the manufacturers. The state allows you to keep forever. They get tested annually. So there's monthly inspections, walkthrough inspections on every system. There's annual testing that the state mandates. So they're very closely watched by the state. State of New Hampshire is one of the most stringent states in the country. We do a lot of work for the country, so they're really the leader in the UST industry, and specifically in New England. But
So you said there's a monthly inspection on,
yeah, the EPA requires a monthly kind of walkthrough. So
EPA.
they're supposed to inspect their components, like the bucket, make sure it's not full of snow, make sure it's not rusted out. They do a visual inspection monthly, and then there's an annual test on the whole system that the state regulates. Whether it's underground or above ground, it's the same. But,
I've got a quick question. Maybe I wasn't paying attention. When you put the tank in the ground, is it in some sort of concrete?
what does it rest on?
No.
Or is it just?
It's Piston, yeah. So the way these work, this is fiberglass. It's flexible. Okay, so
Okay, so there is no concrete.
there's no concrete slab. There's no concrete vault. Those are different types of products that we've talked about. They do make below grade vaults like this. It's the same thing, the same product. They just put them below grade so you don't have to look at them. But no, this is completely different. I won't say any, but 99% of the gas stations you see today will be a fiberglass tank. And they require to be double wall now. You can't have any more single wall tanks in this state. So every tank left in this state's double wall now.
So theoretically, if there was some sort of leak from what you're talking about, it could go through the Piston and penetrate the ground, right?
If there were, yes.
So there'd be nothing to stop it.
No, and even concrete cracks. So.
But you would get some kind of alarm if there was a leak.
Yeah, there's all kinds of bells and whistles. So Before that would ever leak, number one, the main thing to protect any system is to control the inventory and watch it. I mean, these guys, any gallons they lose, they're losing money, so believe me, they watch this like a hawk. In the old days, they didn't have these tank inventory gauges, so there's an electronic gauge that goes down here into the tank, put a float on it. I should put it here. This is connected to an electronic console that's in the building right here. So this float goes up and down with the product in the tank, and it tells you electronically how many gallons are left. And they reconcile this inventory daily. So they'll notice, they'll compare the records of sales versus their inventory, and they'll know if somebody's stealing gas, if there's an employee stealing gas because they don't reconcile. If they don't reconcile, maybe there's a leak. Usually it's theft that's going on. But that's kind of the initial look at the inventory, what's going on, how come our sales don't match our purchasing. But it's the really small leaks you got to control, and those are done by the minute electronic monitors. So the tanks themselves, I mentioned the monitor and the reservoirs that controls the big tank. Again, that's not the biggest failure point with the UST system. The majority of the problems with the UST systems are these connection points over here on the product piping. Okay, the technology on these has really increased over the years. The old days it was like a rubber gasket, a flex connector with a little muffler gasket you crank on. I mean, those nitro rubber gaskets don't last forever. They crack, they get brittle. So what we found over the years is a lot of the leaks that come in the ground are through these penetrations, these entry boots we call them, on these sumps. And, you know, if there's a leak in here, let's say something does fail on this pump and there's a leak, well, this is designed to capture the leak. It's not going to go anywhere. But if this entry boot is lousy and leaks, then it's going to go in the ground. So what we would propose on those entry boots, again, we call it a rigid entry boot. It's not a rubber boot, it's a fixed rigid entry boot. So all these details I'll explain in the ZD application, but those are the technologies those are the important things that you got to make sure you do. It's not this. I mean, this is important. But
Does that answer your question? That answer your question?
It answers my question.
Matt, you have a question?
I do. Is there a brand in mind for this
What?
tank? A brand?
brand?
Yes.
Brand of tank?
Yes.
Yeah, it would be, it used to be Containment Solutions. They got purchased by a company called NOV. So it would be this product right here. NOV Systems, it's CSI is the phone number. It used to be called Containment Solutions, formerly Owens Corning back in the 90s. But the reason why I can say it's going to be this brand, because this is the only brand that makes a triple wall tank in 2 compartments. So, because only we are the 2 main manufacturers of fiberglass tanks. It's these guys, and Xerxes, ZCL, there's the other one out of Canada, and they have facilities in the United States. But they don't make a triple wall 2-compartment tank like we want to use here.
Anything else?
Just a quick one. So I'm pretty comfortable with what you've told me about the triple wall, but those pipes going in, can you explain that again?
Sure.
What's going to capture that
Sure.
if there's leakage in there?
Yep, so the other important part that I haven't talked about is these dispenser sumps. Okay, so just like I mentioned, we're going to do double wall tank sumps. There's going to be double wall dispenser sumps over here. So under every dispenser, there's a containment box. Most states in the country just require a single wall dispenser box, which was a big technology 20 years ago because there used to be no boxes. A lot of the pipes just came up out of the ground. So that, that was improved many years ago. But so if there's any kind of spill in this dispenser inside the mechanics or anything, it drips down into this containment box. There's a sensor in there, an electronic sensor that, again, triggers the same alarm over here. Okay. It says, hey, there's liquid in here. It could be water, it could be gas, we don't know, but go check it out. So that's the primary leak detection point here. The piping, as I mentioned, we're going to use triple wall here. The state requires double wall, and the feds only require double wall. We're going to do triple wall, and that works the same way. There's 2 walls to test. But basically, if there's a leak in the inner pipe, there's an inner pipe and there's an outer pipe if we just stick with double wall. If there's a leak on the inner pipe, it goes into the space of the secondary pipe and it flows down into the sump. Remember I mentioned it flows back to the tank? So if there's any leak, it goes down into that space between the pipes, goes into this sump, and then there's another electronic monitoring there.
So it would also catch from the dispenser unit?
Yep, there would be, the primary connection point would be captured here, because there's a little bit of storage line that's probably about 4 to 6 inches here before the pipe goes out. And again, this is another important part that we've found over the years where you get leaks, because if you got a leak in here and your boots aren't very good, it's going to go in the ground. So again, we're going to do rigid entry boots here. There's going to be no leaking. It's fiberglass, it's bonded, it's all in one piece.
All the pipes are backed up.
Yeah, everything will be fiberglass bonded, rigid entry fittings, everything's fiberglass. Well, let me back up. I shouldn't say that.
Okay, you have 5 more minutes.
Yeah. I gotta be careful what I say.
We got it on tape.
Yeah. May not be fiberglass. We can do
What pipe not be fiberglass?
the piping itself.
Oh, the pipe.
Yeah. So there's a couple of different ways we can do triple wall piping. There's some better products, some newer products on the market I want to look into a little more before I commit to the pipe type. But I can surely say that this will be triple wall pipe. It all works the same way. It all has rigid entry boots. It all has three pipes, a pipe and then a pipe and then a pipe. So you actually have 3.
And how often is that inspected?
Everything's done annually, every year.
Annually.
Yeah, everything's tested annually. So now, what the state makes you do, and this started in October, it's going to start in October of 2021. They need to do annual sump tests, hydrostatic sump tests. They actually fill them with water and prove to the state that they don't leak outside of these entry boots. And if they do, they have to repair them. So if you want to have a good business, you should get into repairing entry boots because it's going to be pretty popular. But if there is a leak anywhere in this dispenser, if it did even fill up beyond this entry boot, and the leak detection didn't pick it up for some reason, it would flow down into that same double wall opening that flow into this one. And there's another electronic probe in there. It's hooked up to the same thing over here. And it would raise an alarm in the store. It's a visual and an audible alarm that goes off. Does that answer your question?
Yep.
Okay, any other questions? So they will be going to the ZBA probably not till December?
December, yes.
So I would propose I would make a motion that when we get the notice from the ZBA that they are having a hearing, that we write a letter to support the underground.
Yeah, I would second, I would strongly recommend that at the original proposal, though, so I think it's wonderful that we're going with this approach to it.
That's Joan and Tom seconds the motion, Kevin. So is there any more discussion from anyone? Okay, all those in favor of writing a letter to the ZBA when we get the notice that they're having a hearing, please raise your hand so I can know. Okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0, 0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We look forward to coming back and seeing you to talk about the site and all the other fun stuff.
It would be good for us, one of us or more to attend the ZBA meeting and see how that goes.
Great, thanks.
Thank you for coming, Bob.
Thank you.
I think there should be a light outside. Right? There is?
It's on you.
So, that was a very good presentation. It gave us a good education of, why underground tanks are better. I never envisioned that there would be so much going on with
You working in the business now?
So next is the budget. 2020 budget and 2021 budget. The 2020 budget, we have $188,000. We had talked about a push lawnmower. Is that still something that we need?
Right, thank you.
Nice.
So I'm not entirely sure.
Can you just move that down so we can?
Can I talk loud?
Okay, talk.
Yeah, okay. So I think that was the idea, would either get a small walk-behind mower or a weed whacker. We kind of
Well,
already...
didn't we fix the weed whacker? You just fix the weed whacker?
We have a pole saw. We have a
Oh.
steel pole saw. We can probably get a weed whacker attachment for it, but yeah, that'd be great, especially in the summer, late spring, when the trails start to kind of grow up, if we can neaten that
Well,
up.
can you check out quickly what if we get a weed whacker attachment, or decent weed whackers aren't really that much money, are they?
No, but if we can get the attachment cheaper, I'll look into that too, because we already have the
Let me know
machine.
soon, because 188.
So I kind of would like to add some stuff to the budget too. I was thinking about putting in materials.
Which year budget would you like to add? Because the budget committee did a little number on our budget.
They cut our budget.
Cut it in half.
What?
The 2021 budget's cut in half.
It-
We never did this that way.
$759.
Yeah, I know, it shocks me so much, like they keep slashing like the smallest budget.
So, but
There.
their thinking is because we have land acquisition money, that we should take it out of there. And I like
Land acquisition.
the analogy that you don't take your electric bill out of the kids' college fund. And that's what they want us to do. And we're not going to do that.
I mean, in the grand scheme of things, that account, just at face value, has a fair deal of money in it, but when you compare that to the price of real estate,
Right.
it's very little, it's not that much, it's like pocket
And we
change.
have a cap on that we can't go over $1 million, so.
Right.
So what I'm looking for those printed materials. So if
What
we
do
have
you
to
mean?
raise the
So we're
money.
looking
I'm thinking about maps for the trails.
We can do that in
And the
education.
kiosks.
We have $5,000 in education fund.
Okay, and then also,
Give me a
I'm gonna
prototype.
get to with Leave No Trace, but there's a woman in town, Amy Hinton, who has done some amazing pictures.
Well, we'll get down to that.
Okay, but I'm looking for brochures to do for the kids too, so that could be under educational as
Yeah.
well.
On
Okay.
signage, it's pretty amazing how we can just get away with using the laminator at town hall. I've been making signs on that, and it's been pretty quick and easy.
For signage, yeah, but she's looking for brochures.
I'm looking for
Oh,
brochures,
brochures, okay,
yeah, I'm
okay,
looking for
also
stuff for
copy of
kids
signage,
and
okay.
maps and stuff.
So that's the sad tale of our 2021 budget.
Also-
They
They
just
slashed us?
Because down to 759, for the smallest budget in town.
So another thing for the budget is,
And I only just want to say one thing. I asked town administrator, should we go in and try to do something about it? He said that it was a 6-3 vote, so we're going to be talking against it all.
what I was thinking of adding, it would be small, is just a little aside for the ATV. Because that,
What?
the ATV.
Get what for it?
An age.
Not just like an aside for like fuel costs,
Oh,
or
oh,
if the police department is eventually looking for us to split the bill for that,
Yeah.
we might want to look into that, but the fuel cost, I remember for that thing was insanely cheap. It'll, like, at the fuel tank on
Maybe we
this
can work
tiny-
something
Well,
out
why
with the
couldn't
new
we
gas
fill it-
station.
At the transfer station.
Good question, I need a key.
Well, you'd have to go over.
Yeah, you'd have to-
somewhere.
We'd have to-
We'd have to tow it over there, or just bring
No.
a canister over there.
Can.
Canister,
Right,
can,
canister, right. I'm overcomplicating things, it's late at night.
I'll ask
But
the road agent about that.
nonetheless, since I actually kept track of the mileage, I think I used that for 3 miles, put 3 miles in the odometer. No, it's not a lot, but,
I'll bring it to desk.
just so we're prepared if we want to start considering that for like big trash cleanups or large projects.
Yeah.
We might want to hold.
We don't
on
need
this.
it.
I'll bring the,
We don't need that.
Yeah.
next
So make sure.
time, bring the 2021 budget to see where we have all this money.
Okay.
But, I mean, what is your feeling about taking money out of land acquisition money?
No,
Make a motion that we do not.
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor that we do not take money out of land acquisition money for general
upkeep.
operation and upkeep.
So I'm kind of awkwardly on the fence with this one, because while I do disagree that we really shouldn't be doing that, the fact is that the reason why it's possible is because there was a Warren article, I believe, that the
Changed
vote,
it,
that
yeah.
the voters in this town kind of wanted us to do
No,
that.
well, it wasn't the voters that put it forward, it was a former town
But
administrator.
the voters still approved it though,
Yeah.
correct? So that's the only thing that I'm thinking of, because even though I feel,
Yeah,
right, so even though I feel like we really shouldn't,
I'll go there.
I'm like in between a rock and a hard place, personally.
You what?
In my position, in my opinion, I'm kind of in between a rock and a hard place on this, because I don't want to do that, to pull money out of that fund, but at the same time,
We
that's
had that, right, we had that,
What year did that happen?
2014, I believe.
so.
So do we need to put a new warrant article in that says that we should save land
We should
acquisition?
withdraw the, withdraw.
I'll withdraw the motion.
And,
That's it. Withdraw.
take a look at that 2014 warrant article and see what we need to do. It's a good time to look at it so we can get it.
I think that's a good time to explain to the voters what we're using that money for and what it costs to buy property so that we don't end up with houses on it or, end up eating up all our farmland. We have farmland that we need to take care of too.
And I'm not sure if we've had a discussion since the planning board and the NRPC did that poll, but I guess there was very strong support for conservation
There was.
getting
Yeah,
land.
there
So
was.
I think that we should revisit this issue with the voters and
So we
the rest
need
of
to
the town
go on.
government.
I'll get a copy of that tomorrow.
See if we can reverse that.
Okay, finish the budget, sad story. Online mapping tool, Andrew.
All right, so we've talked about this in the past, how I can get a subscription to software to create maps for the conservation and lands and stuff. So it's $100 a year subscription. There's two options with ownership. Basically, someone that works from the town of Litchfield can have ownership of it and have control of the account. Or me personally can have account ownership of it, and then I only can create or display links on any town websites to the map. But if the town owns it, they can actually embed the maps within web pages of the town and then do interactive web maps on the town pages. So there's two different options. If the town owns it, they can do pretty much whatever.
So but if the town owned it, how could you access it?
You could still give me access to it.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it would be, if we gave you, then everybody would have.
You'd have to basically allow me access to it officially. Otherwise, I would own it, the account, and then we could just put
And it
like
would
a
be
hyperlink
nice, yeah.
basically to my maps. Aesthetically, I feel like we could do, it would be nicer to have kind of in the web page
Yeah.
on the town sites and be
Would
able
you be able to
interact.
print off of that too, so that we could do our brochures that I'm thinking?
Well, so that's the public-facing side. The kind of the inner workings of it, I could do something like this even, I can make maps like these. I can do trail maps. I can do, I'm a GIS mapper. That's my job.
Yeah.
So I do this for a living too. So I can make any type of, mapping product.
So I thought we had decided to spend this $100.
We never did. It kind of got, waysided,
So we need a motion.
$88 left in it.
Yeah.
Is this under, would this come from?
So I don't know if, like we're talking about, if this would be
Motion
educational
by Tom.
or regular.
Yeah, it could come out of education.
Yeah.
That'll work.
Motion by Tom, seconded.
Well, first we have to decide, am I gonna retain ownership or is the
Well,
town?
probably the town, and then.
Right, you would be,
Administrative.
that's what I'm thinking too.
Yeah.
But someone from the town has to go through the, sign up and everything. I can walk
We
them
could go
through
Show
it.
me how to do the.
Yeah, I can walk
Select
someone
it.
through it and do it with you, but,
Do you need like a town email or something? to do
right,
that?
you need a town email address.
Do you have one?
No, I don't.
John Brunel can set one up for you.
You should have, yeah. If you had a town email, that would work? It would work.
Because I'm not actually an employee.
Right.
I talked to a representative through the company as a
All right, so if you came in to my office some afternoon and we could figure this out and do
Yeah,
that.
Because she's a town employee. so she-
right, I know, right, exactly, yep.
All right, so let's take the $100 out of education
Mhm.
and go for it.
Do we make a motion? Do we?
Tom made a motion, I'm gonna second it.
Okay,
Vote.
any more discussion? All those in
That
favor
makes
of
sense.
spending $100 out of education?
Aye.
Aye. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 0, 0.
Oh, sorry, there's a second part of
Okay,
storage.
okay.
Sorry, I totally forgot. So it comes with some storage space, online storage space. If we run out, we have $100 just to buy extra space if we run out.
Now, I don't know much about how this works, but
Yeah.
could the town store do storage?
It's like their cloud
Right.
storage.
Yeah, yeah.
They
It's
kind
another
of,
$100 though?
it's $100, and it's good for 2 years.
Unlimited store.
It's not unlimited, no, it's
Okay.
not.
But that, so if we use the space,
How much space do you get to start with? Ample? No, don't tell me no, because we're meeting.
Yeah, it's not really, the free storage we get with it should be plenty. If this becomes a really long term, we get a lot of information. I'm assuming we're not gonna,
Okay. Yeah, but
you know,
another
take it
$100.
up. But it's just
We'll
another
know as we
$100.
go,
We'll
though.
know as we go.
Yeah.
There's a little, counter.
Okay.
So that's just the
Let's
second
do it.
part, just to let you guys.
okay, so
know.
vote.
So the initial
We
cost is
did-
We
$100.
already voted? Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yep. So,
Okay.
Only
Call
four.
me when you can, I'll give you my
Okay.
cell phone number later, and let's get that done.
okay.
Okay, quickly, dedication of Bowman Fort Trail.
We were gonna have a ribbon cutting, no one came.
Because I didn't think you were having it.
Well, I did, I sent in a follow-up email like immediately after, because I found there was a conflict on the Saturday that I.
Yeah, that's the last
Got
one.
the ribbon. There was no ribbon cutting, there was just a quick tour with LCTV.
Oh, good.
But I don't know if anyone's been out there yet, but it was
I'm
really
planning on going this weekend.
I would like to.
I just put up the sign that Roger made. It looks really nice.
Yeah,
It came out
Let me
nicely.
know how the paint, there's some, when the stumps got cut off, the little ones, so I was tripping over them constantly. So I painted it, but I don't know if that paint's holding up or not, so let me know.
I trimmed up a lot of those.
You what?
I trimmed up a lot of those.
Yeah, I did afterwards too, I went all the way to the swamp.
So it's
in March.
it's a pretty smooth trail. It's easy. I'd like
Oh,
to
yeah.
see, I don't know how possible this is, but I was looking into ADA compliance for the trail, because somebody who might not have the same mobility, it's pretty
Pretty
level.
lumpy.
Oh, we can fix that. It wouldn't be that hard.
Where is we kept looking for the little before, we couldn't find it. It's on the right-hand side.
The pole was removed. Somebody actually.
Oh, no.
The fountain, hey, old man in the mountain's gone.
It's wicked old man.
But, yeah, somebody, there's a foundation, there's like a foundation that's left there. But that was like kind of a cool thing that was there when I was working on it.
Yeah, take a look out there, it's short, it's nice, and you get out to this swamp.
I'm sorry, man.
That's okay.
I so would have been there had I realized it. I just saw the one, I don't always, my email can get like loaded down. So sometimes if you don't hear back, just a text.
I'd be interested to see what the easement or the, what's it called? I'm forgetting now I'm blanking on the term.
I think you're tired.
I am very tired. Never mind. We'll talk about it another
And
time.
then Valentine.
But,
About that same trail you mean?
no, about the portion of the wetlands there,
Yeah.
that's, not an easement, what's the term I'm looking for?
We don't own, well, we own the marsh.
I know, it's not, it's, Margaret Parent owns that part.
Okay.
There's what's the term? It's where you take 10 or more acres.
Current use.
Current use, there we go. What the conditions
I like
of
this
that
game.
current use are.
I don't get it, but I like it.
When they go into current use, they have, there's different categories, forest land, wetland,
Right.
farmland. So, and they're usually on conditions, they're just different types of current use.
Right, so
But
what
I
I,
don't know I don't know that the tax card says that, it just says current use.
it said current use hardwood, that was what was under on NRPC's website, but,
But what difference does it make if she owns it?
let's see if people could, I don't know, never mind. Just like thinking what access people would have to the wetlands if they want to like put a kayak in there. I know it's small, so it's small, but,
I don't think that's a good idea, it's pretty good wildlife refuge.
yeah, okay.
Okay, next, Association of Conservation Commissions, I didn't hear from anybody, but I signed up for this Saturday, 2 Zoom sessions from 9 to 12. The one is new wetland rules, which is kind of important because they changed a lot of things. They didn't change the laws, but they changed the rules. So I'm going to that one. And the other one is turtle conservation on private land. So that should be pretty interesting. I'll let you know what happens.
So how many other ones are there?
There's a whole, on that day, Saturday,
Yeah,
there's a whole slew of different seminars.
so if I get a chance to do it, I can just
I think
submit.
yesterday was the deadline.
Oh,
I thought it was the 6th, but you
I
can
think
call
you
me. Check. So I sent you the postal question.
Yes.
Okay, leave no trace. Quickly on this one.
I don't know if I ever do anything quickly, but I'm gonna try. So leave no trace is basically you take it in, you bring it up. You do not leave anything on the land to allow it to have its natural feeling. Leave nothing but footprints, take nothing but pictures. And it is New Hampshire and state parks, and we've adopted it. And during a walk, Joan found a sign. She tried to communicate with the sign at Moore's Falls. And we found a sign. We tried to respond to the sign to say, you know, what are you up to? It turned out to not be somebody who was from in town. Somebody was from Merrimack that actually placed that sign.
No, we don't know where they were from.
Well, we do
They were
now.
gonna go.
We do now. They're from Merrimack and they claimed Moore's Falls,
Yeah.
is what that sign was about.
The sign was removed.
So the sign was removed because of no trace. Just the sign actually breaks the rules of leave no trace. But the sign was asking for rocks to be put down and painted, and they're really nice, and they've been all over town. And so the rock was encouraging people to leave those in our conservation land, in Litchfield's conservation land. So without being able to talk to the person and seeing that the stones had glitter and Google and all kinds of things on them, they were picked up. And then that adds nicely on the conservation page that people not do it. Well, then it ended up on the WhatsApp page, and it kind of created quite a stir. The people that were leaving them were very upset. And had they come to us and said, we want to do these rocks during COVID, it's encouraging our kids to go, we probably could have come up with a plan where we asked them to monitor the amount of rocks, because that really is the problem. Is that you can get 15 rocks and all various sizes, and next thing they're
It
painting.
was fine in like some little painted rocks. Then the
They were
ones
getting
that
bigger
were
and
like
bigger.
5-pound rocks.
Right, so there was problems with it, but we would have worked with those people had they come to us, but probably didn't know they had to. We didn't even know it was conservation land, so it was a communication problem. But in conversation, it's not something that we want to encourage. If somebody wants to come to us and say that they want to do it for a month, and then at the end of the month they'll pick them up, or they'll change them out, or something else, if they want to come to us on that, that's fine, we can talk about that. But another thing that was discussed, we have a woman in town, Amy Hinton, who takes these amazing pictures. And I came up with the idea of a scavenger nature hunt. So it would be going out to different parts of the trail and looking for a type of plant that grows there, a type of birds that are on the path, natural things that are in that natural environment that would be learning for the kids. It would be leaving everything intact, taking pictures of what they found there. We could do something on our website that I know that you're really involved in. We could maybe ask Amy, I could ask her to show up to one of our meetings, to have her come up with the scavenger list. Pictures. She has this really cute mouse, and she has this really cute hedgehog, and the pictures are gorgeous.
Did she say to it, short, sweet?
I am. This is short and sweet for
Not
me.
my world.
Well, we don't all live in your world. I'm moving.
Yep, throw money like I do.
So anyway,
Okay, sounds good.
that's what's going on with that situation. Please know that there are conservation lands in town, and that we do request leave no trace. And get in touch with me if you want to talk to us about putting things in conservation land. And I would love to hear from Amy. Could I have her back and have her speak and show her pictures? Okay. And I'm
I
done.
just didn't reason for anybody to leave anything on conservation land anyhow.
Well, that's what we just
Conservation.
said. That's
My
what we just
issue
said.
wasn't really necessarily just with the painted rocks, it was the fact that a lot of them had plastics on them that
Right,
were
that's
coming
what
off.
she said.
Well,
Yeah.
that
And
doesn't
then-
even matter. It was a communication problem. There was things that we could have done, and the
And
rocks
that's
aren't
what I
bad.
did.
The rocks can go on the bike trail. The rocks can go at town hall. The rocks can go
I did
at the schools. There's
email
lots
the
of
people
places
on the
they can
sign,
go.
and I never got any response, so that's why I just
Right, so that's all we wanted to explain to people in town.
Moving on.
And moving on, Morse
Okay,
Falls.
Morse Falls. So
Kiosks.
we have donated 20, they're planted 20 new Japanese flower and crab apple
Is
trees.
anybody watering those trees at all?
They have these, I'm sure they are, they have those bags on them.
Okay.
Continental did it. Shh. Oops.
Well, speaking of Morse Falls, I
I was
checked
just
out
gonna ask
the kiosk.
You what?
I checked out the kiosk, and it's not as badly damaged as I thought it was.
Okay, good.
Gonna leave it alone. Now, what I've been doing is, past month, I've been spending either a Wednesday or a Saturday at the Morse Falls. And I had a bunch of brochures that I got from the state. So as people came in, I passed them out and said it was from the Conservation Commission.
What did it say? What did they say?
The ones that I had were viewing wildlife in the north, but it still
Yeah.
was fairly relative. And I was talking to Matt, I did find a person using an ATV, and I reminded him, it was a younger fella with his sister, and I told him that that wasn't allowed here, and he said, oh, I didn't see the signs, and I said, well, maybe you better turn around and double check it again.
Good.
So, the biggest trash problem in Morse Falls, and I know Diane's not gonna like this at all, is for a month, I've picked up every day 4 or 5 bags of dog food.
The
Are
bags.
they in the bags? In the bags?
Some in the bags.
Okay, why would I not like that? I don't like people leaving that.
Well, you know, I know you're not fond of leashes.
I don't like leashes, no.
Okay, get back to the trash. So, some in bags and some not?
Yeah, some in bags and some not.
But the kiosk with the little doggy bags was full, so I just filled that.
Yeah, no, there's bags in the kiosk, and I found the bags everywhere. I found them in the middle of the trail, some on the side of the trail. I walked down to
Because it
the,
hasn't been bad, right? Well, you had,
So that goes back to leave no trace.
Yeah,
And we have bags there,
but
take your
Matt
bags
said
home
that
with you.
it hasn't been bad, all summer it hasn't
it
been
wasn't,
good.
yeah, it wasn't all that bad. The only issue was that people would bag off the poop, but then leave it.
Yeah.
They would leave it in the bag. It's just like,
Yeah.
halfway there, is
Okay,
it
so
bad?
leave no trace, take your dog food.
And
what
that is,
surprised me was, like I said, I mean, because I go up there once a week, and I figured, okay, you know, great, just to walk the trail and see what's happening. And every time I've gone up there, and I've been about 4 times,
People are looking for a garbage can, and we don't want to put one.
No, we don't want to.
no, and I agree.
Yeah, that they're looking for a
Totally
garbage
agree.
can.
Yes,
Yeah,
if-
take it back.
Because I think there is a sign there, the sign says.
If they pick it up, they should bring it up.
Right.
I'm not, I totally agree with that,
Yeah.
but apparently that's not happening.
So all we can do is if you see somebody, speak up if you feel comfortable doing that.
Well, one of the things I've been doing is, when I talk to the people and I pass out the brochures, if they have a dog, I do just remind them that, you know, there are bags available, and if you use them, you need to carry them out.
Good.
So,
Yeah, that's good.
and when I go back up, I was talking to Matt, I'm gonna bring some orange.
What if we put a little sign over the dispenser that says, please bring filled bags home with you, or whatever?
I think the kind of.
Well, the other
Well,
problem
it's obviously
is,
not going with them.
yeah, the other problem is all those signs we have up here, people don't even look at them, they just walk down.
But if
that's
they're
all-
gonna take a bag, they're gonna see the sign if you put one right above there,
Put it on the back, yeah.
right above the bag.
It goes back to the ATVs. Those signs are prominently at the trailhead.
Yeah, not
There's
even
zero
at both
excuse.
trailheads, yeah, unless they're coming in from the Morse.
Also, kind of related to ATVs in Morse Falls, the ATVs have kind of, that's a more recent thing where we're starting to see more of that traffic, and I did receive notice that an ATV had kind of accessed private land through Morse Falls, and you can see there's some pretty heavy wear of ATVs going down the trail at St. Francis, which is what it sounds like.
Well, you were going to talk to St. Francis, did you talk to them?
Yeah, so I had a phone call with the building and grounds official for the church. We're gonna meet on a Wednesday a few weeks ago, but we never set a time, so that hasn't come to pass yet, but we're gonna have, it's gonna be kind of interesting in seeing how we're gonna kind of narrow that down and where
It's too
we're.
bad we couldn't, put like a split rail fence right there, but kiosk.
Actually, I saw the one ATV, and the 4 times I've been up there, I really haven't seen any evidence of any other ATV that I happened to, was an accident.
I mean, that could.
And the trails have been, the trails are
And
in
there's
pretty
a
good
tree-
shape.
There's a tree down anyway, when you come down and you go south from our property, you go south, there's a tree down, it's on the trail.
Well, this,
You mean the one you have to crawl under?
Yeah.
yeah, the one going north towards Darkle?
No.
No? Okay. Well, that's a different one, and people are actually getting through that one. There's dirt bikes. There are dirt bikes.
The one that goes north?
Yeah.
But that's on our property, right?
Not after so that fallen
Once they're on
tree.
the dark hole, so we
Yeah.
Well, the trail that goes north, how far does that go into our property, or does it?
We just go a little bit to the north, but that problem will be resolved soon, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, but like I said, I walked the trails and I walked them down to the river and stuff, and the trails really look in good shape, except they can,
And I think that the trees, as far as watering, I think, I'll have to check in with those bags, I think that's what those bags might be on the trees.
So the other thing I'm doing too is where hunting season's coming up, and where we have multiple use, I'm bringing my orange tape and cutting long strips, offering them to people. Not forcing them.
Yeah.
They can take them and use them, and if they don't want it, that's fine.
You should tell them that November 11th starts deer season down here, so.
Actually,
Muzzleloader
deer
now.
season
Deer season
starts,
starts.
Muzzleloader now, yeah.
muzzle loading and archery.
Now I
Yeah, they're already on, yeah. So now we're in,
Pardon?
now we're in rifle season.
No, not till November 11th.
Yeah, shotgun, no.
Shotgun, November.
And the other, a little surprising is, there's a ton of acorns over there, and I thought there might, be some evidence of deer, maybe turkey and stuff.
Oh, they're fairly well,
but There were like 10,000 chipmunks.
Harry, shut up.
Okay.
I just wanted to know.
Okay, I just want to mention, Jason is planning a new trail on Parker Park. Jason's planning a new trail at Parker Park, which is really on most of it's on the Monadnock Land Trust property. I think some of it starts, we only have 2 acres there, so it's 600 feet from the road. And the rest of it's Monadnock Land Trust. So he's working with them to do a trail down there. So
Who took the tree down? Okay. Big tree.
I think the road agent did most of it.
Those
So the
are big-
kiosk at Parker Park too, though, well, the Parker Park kiosk was fixed by Tommy Schofield.
Did they get done?
He texted me today.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that it was taken care of, so thank you, Tommy.
Especially texting back from all those.
Those big pine logs that are
Take
parked
up the
at Park,
farm.
are someone's gonna eventually pick them up, or?
They may not pick those up. I think the road agent was the one who was able to cut up that tree, most of it, so it didn't dam up the brook.
So if someone's interested in.
Pine, that big
Pine?
pine. They can move it.
Okay,
You're welcome
Yeah, you can do it without getting hurt.
to it. Yeah.
Okay.
Get hurt, they go, it's easier.
We don't want to miss this.
well, I saw a crane there, and I was saying, oh, God, you're gonna use the crane to get rid of the logs. Rock.
What?
Oh, sorry, I was gonna, earlier in the year, I walked with Jason along the brook there, down towards the river. I was not able to make it all the way to the river. I could not make it with my boots on. I was got soaked.
Well, you can't go to the river, there
Well,
on the
You can,
Monadnock
right?
land side you can, and
Yeah.
on a little bit, the fields are all Wilson's. And then, yeah, the woods part is Monadnock's.
in any event, it's,
Normanton had like a camp down there, is that?
I don't recall seeing one.
When
It was
that,
like-
yeah, he was,
Normanton's.
yeah, that's their property.
Well, it's Monadnock.
It's Monadnock Trust,
Yeah.
yeah. It was like a cool camp thing, it was rented it out.
Yeah, we don't go there.
Okay.
It'll be an exciting project.
I
Yes,
just
that's-
looked information.
What were we gonna say?
I I was just gonna say, it will be an exciting project. I've walked it, it looks pretty nice.
Because I just happened to be down there, I ran into Whitney and Jason one day, so I remember it. I had a call from a student's father, they were working on the project for, I guess his son needed 30 hours, I guess it must be a sophomore project. So I gave them blue bags and they were off cleaning, they first cleaned up their pond, and then I told them, you know, wear orange when you go out to the state forest, and they were going to do that. And both the father and son were going to go out to the state forest, and I gave them more bags, so they were moving right along.
So did we tell Rec that they were down there too?
Where?
At Darren?
No.
It's a covert
I
operation.
guess so. Yeah. We're stealing your trash, Rec.
Adverse possession will be.
Well, I think that's great because there was women that were there picking it up and around.
Because usually, I never had a bag every time I go.
It's been bad, I guess.
It's been bad?
It's been really bad, I guess, so that's good. That's a great place for them to be.
Before going to non-public, we need to take an hour or two and take everything out of that shed at the town hall and reorganize. Some of
Including
that
the mice,
stuff,
gotta get rid of the mice.
some of that stuff is in
Matt and
order.
I said that we would do it.
You do?
Yep. I mean, I was kind of responsible for most of that mess, but
The
a lot of
duck
that stuff.
boxes need to go
they're-
back in, we need to get the duck boxes up this winter, they need to go back in, and that, I don't know what that big red thing is, that needs to go somewhere.
I have absolutely no idea what, that's been in there since as long as I've had a key.
I know, I don't know who put it in there, but.
Is there, have we thought about, what are the odds of using some space in this building? Because-
Yeah, we can bring the DR over here.
Okay.
So tell Jason that if he tells, I think we can text him. Should text him.
So where's it now? In the
Jason's
shed?
house.
Huh?
Jason's house.
It's actually, it was very convenient when I was doing some of those trail reroutes, because I actually just walked
Drive
from
from
his
the mountain.
garage right into the woods.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So it was a lot
down
more.
there for winter.
Mhm.
I'll text him, I'll try to text him to get a key, get down here. Well, now I can get in, actually.
We could go.
Yeah, I got the code. Okay, so that's all I have. We don't have a rainfall report tonight. Anybody else got anything before we go to non-public? We can approve the minutes next time because we didn't get those. I'll make copies, send them out. Anything else?
We went to non-public on the Article 91.
Okay, we'll do roll call vote. RSA, Matt second that. Roll call vote, Joan, yes.
Tom, yes?
Diane, yes?
Matt, yes.
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 I could appoint you as a full member, Diane, so, right now, because I didn't do that before, so we can make that 6-0.
Yeah, everything we
To
said.
go in.
No, for tonight.
Oh, for this
Voting
night?
member for tonight.
If I'm gonna get to write everything down really quickly, you should make me a phone.
I think I can.
We'll work on that.
Okay, well. Okay, all those in favor of going into non-public, say aye.
Right.
Opposed? No. Okay. We are in non-public, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.